Like I said, I still think we remain unconvinced Muschietti's going to wind up directing this. But it seems like we're nowhere on DCU Batman, and similarly nowhere on Flash, where there was another one of these like Grant Gustin has to come back and be Barry Allen in the DCU. And they said fans will riot if that's not the case. To which James Gunn said, quote, I keep being told people are going to riot over things, but I as of yet have yet to see a riot. I love Grant, by the way.
Cool. What up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Nerd Jet Report. I'm your host, Pablo, and joining me, as always, is Mr. Brian Schultz. The Void. We get to talk about the little things happening around in the quiet corners of the universe. James Gunn. I know that's DC stuff, but there hasn't been a lot of DC stuff to discuss. The only little things, that people talk about and say. James Gunn speaks on Batman and on Flash rumors. We get to talk a little bit about some of what's going on with Paramount, Netflix, and the latest situation with the WB and its sale. And George R.R. Martin goes off on House of Dragon. Again, this is a broader conversation as to some of the stuff that we talked about in our Star Wars episode regarding, the visionary and the execs and the relationships between that are involved before making a project that, you had a vision for and then it just gets out of hand. We'll also get into quickly about Sophie Turner and the first look we get of her as Lara Croft. I'll just wait for the movie. To me, it still looks like a video game that she looks like. It just doesn't. I don't know if she gives off for me the same sort of Angelina Jolie type.
It's a series.
Yeah. And again, in our short segment of what we're watching, we'll talk about some of the things we've watched as of late. So, James Gunn, Brian, what has he said about Batman and the Flash?
So this got started because it started going around the rumor mill that the screenplay for Brave and the Bold was finished and that WB had set a 2028 release date for the film. To which James Gunn got on socials and simply said, fiction, sorry, screenplay isn't finished. Mm-hmm. Someone then followed up about like a secret, maybe like testing for Batman casting that had happened late 25. And to which James Gunn said, well, that would be strange since the movie hasn't started production yet. So kind of saying Brave and the Bold is still on hold and kind of nowhere is the official word, despite. And I think that's right because so when this rumor about the 2028 thing happened, people immediately started speculating on the whole, well, wait a minute, Batman Part 2 is coming Halloween of 27. And if DCU Batman's going to show up summer of 28, that's awfully close together. And now you're kind of hearing, well, that's not actually in play, probably. They're not even that far along. Like I said, I still think we remain unconvinced Muschietti's going to wind up directing this. Mm-hmm. But it seems like we're nowhere on DCU Batman, and similarly nowhere on Flash, where there was another one of these like Grant Gustin has to come back and be Barry Allen in the DCU. And they said fans will riot if that's not the case. To which James Gunn said, quote, I keep being told people are going to riot over things, but I as of yet have yet to see a riot. I love Grant, by the way. Cool. So Flash kind of nowhere either.
Yeah. They did a fan cast of I forget his name of that individual from Stranger Things as a fan cast.
For Barry Allen?
Yeah.
Okay. It was like a younger Barry Allen?
Do you know which guy I'm talking about? The one with the big hair. He's a rock star now.
Joe Keery?
Yes. Okay. That's a very interesting. I've always for me, I always had him as if you ever wanted to do a Ferris Bueller's Day Off sequel or continuation, he'd be the guy to do it. And the father is the original Ferris Bueller. So he'd be Ferris Bueller Jr.
Oh, Matthew Broderick. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. We probably mentioned it where he says something about Batman that we've done I think we did talk about it,
yeah,
right?
Yeah, we did talk about it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the fact that it hasn't been done yet, Brian, tells me because, listen, anybody owning Batman understands that he's a big ticket. And you would want to do something fairly quickly with him, I think. You would want to involve them. Just look at what happened with the Zack Snyder situation. Get him in there. The fact that it's not happening here with him now is because we don't know the future of James Gunn's participation in DCU's future or DC, whatever they I don't know if DCU will probably be kept. I don't know. That's not us. Like anybody who is put in that position will want to make their stamp on it.
Sure.
So him not having current plans or it being not developed as quickly as we would like it to be says a lot to me. I sent you something, Brian, and I don't think you really responded to it, but suppose you don't get Timothy Chalamet, right? Suppose you can't get him, right? And because you can't get it because either A, he wants to do just one and done, or because he just doesn't want to do it, whatever. That kid from Stranger Things, Will, I think will be an interesting choice.
As Damian?
As Damian Wayans or Robin, whatever.
That would be Noah Schnapp is who you're talking about.
Yes.
He's 21. I could see it. I mean, he's got the dark hair, blue eyes. I could see it.
Yeah, I think he emotes very interestingly. I think I would like to see a change in that. It would be interesting to see. But again, James Gunn not having nothing on Batman right now is not a surprise, and
No.
it's just a tell.
I think there's more
things
to
are not
that.
solidified as of yet. Yes,
I think there's more to that. I mean, I think one of the interesting things that I want to see play out here is I think you can. So, for example, I think you can tease Batman and Clayface without having to deal with casting Batman, right? Because there's plenty of ways you could show a silhouette, a gauntlet, things that let you know he's there without giving away who's playing him. I'm wondering how long you can get away with that. So, I think it would be a mistake for him to show up in Man of Tomorrow, but I would be surprised if Man of Tomorrow does not have a Wayne something in it.
Yeah.
But I would be surprised if the actor appeared on screen. I think there is some stuff behind the scenes where they are actively putting the brakes on DCU Batman in particular because of the deal, because of the merger uncertainty. Because I feel like if they fire a Batman bullet too soon, ownership changes hands, wants to go in a different direction. Now you kind of have you have a mess around your most profitable character.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they want that. So I think they are slow playing Brave and the Bold, and I don't think it's necessarily all James Gunn's call. So Matt Reeves is a little different because that ship already left, so they can kind of play that out, make some money off it. Maybe even improves the odds that Matt Reeves gets part 3 while this merger drags out because it's the known quantity. And they need that money. And I kind of feel like in a weird way, him getting Sebastian Stan and Scarlett Johansson to play the Dents or Harvey Dent and Gilda Gold is kind of an indication that odds of a part 3 went up. Because I feel like those two are not signing on.
For just one joint.
Yeah, right? It kind of feels like...
It seems like their inspiration is that Batman, the animated series episode where it was a 2-parter, right?
Very well could be. It very well could be. I mean, so I just read those tea leaves as kind of like, I do feel like Matt Reeves is an inadvertent winner of this turmoil around WB because his Batman franchise already exists and is a guaranteed moneymaker.
Yeah.
And as a result, they may want to hold the other one while they figure out, is James Gunn going to be the guy? And is this direction of the DCU we want to take? And it's honestly not going to be WB's call. It's going to be either Paramount or Netflix or mystery bidder number. We don't, you know what I mean? Like, it just feels like there is something there where Batman of all characters may be a little bit off limits.
Yeah. We'll see what happens. What is the latest situation happening with Paramount, Netflix, and WB? Because again, obviously, this will give us some indication as to how James Gunn fits into all of this.
I like in the phase we're in now to let phase in the boxing match where the fighters are kind of circling each other and they're kind of feinting and jabbing and ducking and weaving, but nobody wants to actually go for the power shot. That's kind of where we're at.
That's the last round of Rocky 1. The last round where they're just circling each other, but they're both pretty beat up.
And you know the inevitable that's coming.
Yeah,
and I get it. I'm using a 2-fighter, but it is WB is the target, but the 2 fighters right now are Paramount and Netflix. So I've said from the beginning when this started, you asked me, I think probability gun to the head, I said 60-40 kind of Netflix. I'm still kind of there. It's clear because it's clear that WB wants to sell to them, which is a huge advantage.
Yes.
The tweaks, just to give a quick update and try to get through the noise, because we were texting about it a little bit. Paramount's, going scorched earth. They're suing for disclosure because they believe that WB violated his fiduciary duty around their last offer and basically made their deal with Netflix while ignoring and ghosting David Ellison's, last offer, which was not best and final. So that's why they want that information. They're trying to dredge that up. Mm-hmm. They're taking their case abroad. I think they're touring around Europe trying to visit with different shareholders to get them on board. But what they're not doing is they have not formally raised the bid yet. So that's why I say this is you're circling the ring and you're kind of throwing these feints and jabs that don't really land, right? You're looking like you're fighting, but you're not really fighting. Netflix made a small but maybe significant tweak. There's a report that maybe they're going to make their bid all cash, that they're going to get rid of the stock component. That is a little something. So that is actually a slight increase in deal value and would suggest to you something I said from the beginning, which is this is not a lock. If Netflix does that formally, it will tell you that they know there's a path by which Paramount could actually usurp them, right? That's why you would make that move. But at the same time, it's not a power move because they're not raising the formal total value of the bid that much either, right? So that's what I mean by these are little things. But I think it is all leading to that. WB keeps floating through the media, $34, $35. We got to look at that. So that's why I say I think the next step is you probably see Paramount most likely. I think you'll see them at some point go to maybe $33. That's kind of what I'm thinking. Like they want to raises the bid 10%. It makes it clearly financially superior to the Netflix offer, but it leaves them a little bit of room in the tank if they have to go another round to see if they can get this done. I think when they do that, we'll see. Netflix probably does respond to that. And then I think it may be one more round of who's going to give the last kiss to WB, and that's your winner. But right now, it is a lot of, in my mind, sound and fury signifying not a whole lot substantial because neither side is really raising the true value of the bid. And that's what WB is kind of sitting back and saying, we will go to the altar if someone materially moves to a next level of value. And that's I think is coming. But of course they don't want to do it, right? I mean, the math of the deal gets worse the more you spend for it. So they're trying to avoid that. But I don't think Paramount can just get away with their $30. That's not good enough. Clearly not good enough.
Would you rather sell to Netflix?
As who? The WB, you saying? Who am I in this? Who am I? David Zaslav? Am I the board?
You're David Zaslav. Who do you want to sell to? Because I'm thinking about the future.
Yeah, you want to sell to Netflix. You want to sell to Netflix. And actually, I want to sell to Netflix and I don't want all cash.
What do you want?
I want some stock because I believe that in the future, I believe that I am adding value to Netflix and Netflix becomes more powerful and their model becomes more powerful in 5 to 10 years and my stock will be worth more.
Rather than go with Paramount, who looks to be sort of operating in the same sort of, business as usual type of situation, which is not more future forward thinking in terms of making all the still antiquated and not changing. That I think is would be my hesitancy in selling to Paramount because I don't know, they're looking to compete with Netflix, certainly. Mm-hmm. But doing it the same way you've been doing it in terms of the production and I think is what worries me most.
Well, practically speaking, though, because it's an all cash bid for the entire company, if you're David Zaslav and you go with Paramount, you don't care what the future is because it doesn't matter, right? You're getting a cash number. It's fully crystallized. There's no future upside. You have no stake in what comes next. It doesn't matter what Paramount does. You're just saying this is the most I can ever get out of WB forever.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm saying I kind of would want to leave some optionality. I could be wrong, but I kind of want, like, if Netflix goes on to take over everything, right? Like, if that's where, like, don't you want like I mean, look, gobsmacks of money anyway, right? So, like, why don't you want an option in your portfolio to see what happens 10 years from now? And like, Netflix could be one of those players, right?
And it's
I don't
not
know.
like
That's why, if you're asking me personally, if I'm Zaslav, that's how I would look at it.
Yes, because it's not like Netflix hasn't done it already and are continuing to evolve.
Yeah.
You know,
Because innovation and disruption is in their DNA, right? So that's why I think you want to stake in that and see where it leads. And it's like, but again, that's a little different question than like, what do we as the broader consumer, what should we want? The question is not totally the same. But you're asking me, like, what should David Zaslav want? I think he's not thinking irrationally in wanting.
We should have a show where we talk about the consumer aspect of it, though.
We've talked a little bit about it. I mean, I think for sure, like, neither of these outcomes is great, to be quite honest. But we talked about the differences of what you'll see. Soranos is out there. I mean,
don't trust
them. This guy will say anything to get this done. He's a politician on the campaign trail. I mean, don't believe it. Like, stuff's being said to get votes.
Interesting stuff. George R.R. Martin goes off on House of Dragon.
Oof, yeah.
Creatives and the execs. What is that relationship like? Well, here's an example of what one of them is like. What's happening here?
Yeah, we don't talk a lot about Game of Thrones because it's not our sort of top IP, but obviously House of the Dragon, the first spin-off of the Game of Thrones series, George R.R. Martin was directly involved, as it was an adaptation of his book, Fire and Blood. He was working with Ryan Condal. They were co-creators. They were co-showrunners. And then they weren't co-anything. George R.R. Martin, quote, "I thought Ryan and I were partners. And we were all through the first season. I would read early drafts of the scripts. I would give notes. He would change some things. It was working really well. I thought." End quote. He then later apparently supported Condal in another falling out because there was another showrunner, Miguel Sapochnik, who had directed some of the highest acclaimed episodes of Game of Thrones. And Martin threw his support behind Condal to become the showrunner after Sapochnik protested. So there was already some bad blood, right? And then Martin chooses a side and then has buyer's remorse because he says, quote, "We got into season 2 and he basically stopped listening to me. I would give notes, nothing would happen. Sometimes he would explain why he wasn't doing it. Other times he would tell me, oh, okay, yeah, I'll think about that. It got worse and worse, and I began to get more and more annoyed. Finally, I got to a point where I was told by HBO I should submit my notes to them, and they would give Ryan our combined notes," end quote. And he closes it with the zinger, "This is not my story any longer."
I guess Bo DeMayo and George are having a conversation to see what the experience is like, albeit different situations. But now the story that you had in mind is no longer the story that's being done. And if you guys don't like it, it's not my story. If you do like it, still, it's not my story. Kudos to him, right? Because he obviously knows what he's doing or whatever the case may be. But if it doesn't work out, it ain't me. Don't associate me with that. I see it from the perspective of, like you said, or like the report said, that he had the top rated viewed episodes, right? What was that relationship like at that time? Was it him having conversations with George, or was it not the case and he created some of the best television? It's hard to collaborate, and I get it. It's hard to collaborate when it's like I'm hitting home runs every time I come up to the plate and then somebody wants to give me advice on something. It's hard to take that advice, Brian, if what you're doing is working. So it's a difficult situation.
I mean, House of the Dragon is definitely slipping a bit, I think, in people's minds. I think if you look at the ratings and sort of the reception, I think it's lost steam. I mean, it definitely is not the original Game of Thrones. I'm not sure that people expected it to be, but I think there's sort of a brewing sense of disappointment. So you could argue Martin is piling on or capitalizing on that a little bit here.
Mm-hmm.
But, the portrayal of Condal is certainly of a guy who just is like, I don't really play well with others, and I want to do my own thing. I don't want any input, even if it is from the person who created this and wrote the reference work, which is, generally speaking, a little bit dangerous.
Yeah.
Usually not a great idea, but I think to your point, it really underscores this dynamic of creators and studios and how treacherous that becomes. It should not be glossed over, that little bit about, okay, he has the falling out with Condal. And then he goes to the studio, and the studio clearly backs Condal, because they basically are like, well, just you join the line. You give us our note. You give us your notes, and we'll lump it in with all our notes. And they'll get to him some. I mean, basically, we're like, go away to the guy who created this and gave it to them way back when. So don't underestimate that HBO element of this, where they could have, right? They could have taken a different tact.
Yeah.
Could have fired Condal. They could have sided with Martin. They don't. I don't have much steam for the latest one, The Night of the Seven Kingdoms. Again, because I don't really live and breathe Game of Thrones.
Yeah, me neither.
But it'll be interesting to see the reception to that, which is supposed to be more lighter hearted. And I don't know how involved Martin is in that, but if he is involved in that, like, how this particular dynamic now feeds into that. But, this feels like another one of those. You got the creator, you got the fan base, you got the broader audience, and it's kind of feeling a little Star Warsy in some ways. Remember, like, Lucas felt very pushed aside at the end too.
When there's money to be made, things change. Just as Dave Chappelle. When there's money to be made, things change.
Kit Harington, in a New York Times interview, was asked about the petition that went around to remake the last season of Game of Thrones. Yeah, he didn't mince words. Quote, that genuinely angered me. Like, how dare you? Sorry, that's just how I feel. I think that was a level of idiocy that can only come about through social media, end quote. Jon Snow just carving up the fan base.
Yeah. I was like, do it over? Nah, yo. What are you talking about, do it over?
Which that probably sparked a whole bunch of memes of the fan base wanting to be like the Night Watch. Didn't they like all stab him to death at the end of that season? But I get it, right? I get what he's saying in the sense of like, it's not like anyone that was on set making that season mailed it in. And he's kind of saying like, look, we put all this work, we put our heart and soul into making those shows, and you guys just want to erase that and redo it. Like, F you. Like, I get what he's saying. Like,
yeah, absolutely. Find
it's
somebody.
Not easy. It's not easy.
Yeah. Find somebody else to do it. It ain't gonna be me. That's pretty much what you're saying. You want to do it? You raise the money. You get it. I'm out.
Yep. He's like, I'll be over here playing Black Knight. Oh wait.
Word up. But and one last thing before we move on. These are one of those situations where prequels get a little bit, prequels is tough. It's tough to do prequels, man. You talk about tough prequels, yo?
It's another legacy of George Lucas that I don't know if we're better off for it or not. Because no one really did prequels until he did prequels. And now it feels like we get more prequels than sequels. But you're right. It is tough because you already know the outcome on some level.
Yeah. I mean, certain things you're willing to sort of watch, like the Andor is a prequel, right? But he asks a very interesting question. It was based off a question, yo.
And Andor, to the credit of Tony Gilroy and to Diego Luna, do not underestimate this as a star of that show, willingness to pass the ball. In part because we knew the end of Diego Luna's story. We knew it. Yeah. We saw it in Rogue One. We know where he's going to be. Yeah. So therefore, the drama, the life and death drama can't hinge on his character because we know he lives already.
Yeah.
The wisdom of Andor is the life or death exists in the other characters. because we don't know if they need to survive or not. They're exclusive to that series, and that's the beauty of it.
Sophie Turner, Lara Croft. We get our first glimpse of what she looks like. Ryan, what did you think? I'm not a Lara Croft guy. I don't think I've seen glimpses of the movies and the things that they've done, but never really have been interested in this, I guess, version of Indiana Jones genre type of situation, right?
So there are two. The reason why I put this on the list is actually really simple. It's another one of those things that made me think of Masters of the Universe.
Mm-hmm.
So this series on Amazon is being created by Phoebe Waller-Bridge. They've been waiting for it for a long time. They've got a pretty good supporting cast, most notably Jason Isaacs and Sigourney Weaver. I think Isaacs is playing her dad, and Lara Croft is a really important character in flashback to kind of what Lara has to do. But what I would say about this, it's funny that your impression was you thought you were looking at a video game, to which I would say, I think that's exactly what they wanted you to think. Because I think the way she's posing and the way she's costumed is as close to the video game version of Lara Croft that we've typically seen out of anyone who's attempted this. So Angelina Jolie in the movie definitely tries to mimic the mannerisms of the video game Croft. Like if you look at how she's got her hair, how she kind of stands and tilts her head, that's very reminiscent of the game. She doesn't really attempt to do the costume or the sort of base costume that Lara wore in sort of like in a lot of the classic games. Alicia Vikander doesn't really make any effort to look like Lara. I mean, she is Lara Croft, but she's not really doing much or looking much like Lara Croft in the remake that they did. So I think this is definitely a promo shot meant to signal authenticity and faithfulness to the game. And to me, that's where the He-Man of it all comes in, because that's the mode I think we are increasingly moving into. People want to see, if you're going to do these nostalgic things, they want to see things that bring you closer to what you actually are used to. They don't want to see massive deviation. And so we know that Masters of the Universe is going for accuracy when it comes to the 80s show, as comically and as ridiculously as that might seem. They're trying to make that believable. You know, we're seeing, I think, a little bit of that kind of in other parts where you're like, oh, you know, that looks like what I thought that character is supposed to look like. And I think this is an example of that. She's standing, looking, the glasses, the color of her shirt, like that is what Lara Croft looks like in the game. And I think Sophie Turner actually looks surprisingly transformed as that character. I think the response to this image has been more favorable than not as a result.
Okay.
I don't know how good the series is going to be.
That's going to be on Prime?
On Prime. It's another Amazon show.
Okay.
Yeah. And we talk about it. Amazon is behind Masters of the Universe. On the flip side, we're worried about Voltron because it seems like they're going, that's one where they did not go super faithful, right? They're like going new generation of stuff. So we're worried about that. But so I'm like intrigued. This is not one that's on my like, oh my God, I have to be there the second it drops to see everything. But when they announced, hey, Jason Isaacs is going to be her dad, Sigourney Weaver, who was never bad and seems to want to be in all these IP projects now, is going to be playing a major role. I was like, yeah, okay. And then I see this image and I'm like, oh, so you actually do want her to look like video game Lara Croft. Like, okay, like I'm interested.
Yeah. Now, last topic, what we are watching. Brian, you've watched. Yes, I saw The Rip, and I have two as well, but not the other one that you've seen.
Okay.
Well, let's name them after, I guess. We talk quickly about The Rip and then the other stuff that we're watching. So The Rip, you texted me last night as we were watching it.
As I was watching it, I was like halfway through, but I was already sold, and I was like, "Yo, you got to check this out!" Like Damon Affleck.
When you texted us, we were watching it too. Yeah, what'd you think?
I really like this movie. I like it because it's tight. It's like an hour and 50 minutes, nothing wasted. It reminded me of like action movies from like the 80s. You know, it's kind of a simple concept, but like well executed. I like Damon. I gotta say, man, I think Ben Affleck kind of missed his calling as this kind of character, because every time he does this, whether it's in The Town or like this, I'm like, he's better at this than he is at being the heartthrob, handsome leading man. He's much better as like a dirty cop, or a pseudo dirty cop.
Yeah.
So I really like Damon and Affleck's vibe in this. I like the supporting cast quite a bit. You get Kyle Chandler in this. You're doing Kyle Chandler things. It's like very intimate. Like obviously it's not like huge budget, but the action. This is the guy who directed the film version of the A-Team and a couple other sort of like lower budget action movies. It's pretty good. Like some of the shootouts are pretty good. I liked it. I mean that like you could say there's some predictability to the intrigue, and that's fine. But I thought it was well executed. I had a good time with it. I would recommend people watch it.
And it kept you guessing as to what's going on. So I think that's a good thing if you wanting to achieve that perspective from someone watching this, because you do question the allegiances in this film, and so that keeps us intrigued, I guess. Yeah, I agree with you 100% in terms of there was one critic or one thing or review that I read about it being, oh yeah, there's this dude on Instagram that I follow. I forget his name. I have to sort of shout him out one day, but I follow his channel a lot. Saying that there were too many. There's a lot of shootouts with with the believability of no one getting hit and stuff like that. Was listen, if you watched Havoc, that's that.
Correct. This is better than Havoc. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
When you talk about too much bullets and nobody getting hit, that's Havoc. That's a movie that I would score way lower than this. Than The Rip. So I enjoyed the dynamic
also
as well.
The tension of building to like the gunfight in the garage, like it's and I should mention, I forgot in the cast, like Stephen Yeun, like way overqualified to play like his supporting role, but it's great that he's in it. Yeah. I think it's pretty well done. Like again, it's kind of atmospheric. I think there's real tension when those street lights turn on. You're like, oh no, like that's not good for these guys. Like what's coming for these guys. And then there's enough of a twist. And you get that, and Damon does such a good job, I feel like, of like teasing you that he's playing some broader game, but you don't totally know that he's a good guy. Like you want to believe he's a good guy, but you're like, there's that world where you're like, maybe he is playing all these people and he's got his own thing and he is gonna, do something to get them all killed. Like I think it's well executed, even though it's not like overly elaborate. So I was a big fan of this. We talked about this coming a month before Crime 101, which might be a little different style of crime drama. But this is, when I watched this, did you want this to? So here's a question. Netflix puts this on streaming. I wound up thinking it was the right decision and a perfect like Friday night, stay in, watch a movie at home. I didn't feel like I needed this to be in the theater. I liked that I could kind of see it this way.
Yes, I absolutely agree. Which gives you like, and I saw this headline regarding The Running Man and its success on streaming.
Yeah, I believe it.
There lies the question or the execution as to what goes up on theaters so that we can maximize profits, I would say, with a film, especially if it's good. Do you, like The Running Man is doing fantastic, right?
On streaming, you're saying?
On streaming, yes. Like that would have been a movie that was released on Netflix on a Friday that I would watch, and I would feel the way I feel, but I would be glad I didn't go to the movies to see it.
I still think The Rip is better executed than Running Man, though.
Certainly.
Yeah, I think that matters, right? Like, I think it was Rip recognized it probably didn't have a big enough audience as an R-rated action movie to go to the theater. Mm-hmm. But I do think the way it's made is it felt very throwback, and the actors are all on it. I did want to say too, like I have only seen Sasha Calle twice, and she's 2 for 2 in very different parts. It is as un-Supergirl a part as you could have, but I think she disappears into her role. And I will say, like, Damon Affleck, we kind of know their skills. Stephen Yeun, Kyle Chandler, like we know their skills. Kaye continues to be somebody that I circle as like she kind of got a bad draw in Flash and did a good job. Mm-hmm. And I see this role and I'm like, I want to see more of her in other stuff, whether it's whether she gets a shot at Mutant Saga or whether she gets a shot in Star Wars. I want to see her back in something bigger because I've liked what I've seen in very different characters.
Yeah, I agree.
So this is a good one. I don't know where you'd rate this. It kind of feels like it's like a, I don't know, 3.5 with an up arrow to me. But like if you see it come across your streaming and you have 2 hours, like you could do a lot worse than giving this 2 hours of your time.
Yeah, I give it a. Do we have to rate it different? I think we should. There should be a category of
like you could talk me into a 4.
And
you could talk me into
streaming.
a 4. Like it's probably 4 in terms of execution. It's just not like it's not meant to be like, the biggest thing you see. But to me, it's like you should stream it. Like make this is worth it. This is good.
Yeah. I would probably give it 3.5 to 4 around there. But if I had to pick something, I'd probably give it 3.5. But still a 4. I wouldn't. I'd be fine with still giving it a 4 because it was good. It was a good executed movie and it was entertaining. It kept you guessing, and it was a fine movie.
And I'm telling you, Affleck, do more of these. It's not too late. Like don't, it's like, and I don't think he was terrible as Bruce Wayne. I actually think in his scenes in The Flash as Bruce Wayne made me feel like, oh, there probably was a better Bruce Wayne than we got to see. But like, he is so good as this. When he's like tatted up, he's got the beard, he's definitely part shady, has questionable morals, but he still has a heroic side. Like he's really good at that. Like I mean, so as you're
Training
thinking about
Day 2,
kind of as you're thinking about trying to like if he would ever do IP stuff again, I'm like, this is the kind of role I'd ask him to do. I would not ask him to be a clean cut hero. Don't do that.
Yeah. There was one character that Tracy and I used to talk about, the grifter from DC. I'm not too familiar with the character, but from what he told me, he's certainly very intense, and he crosses, and he's in the middle, but is a very intense character. But so outside of the rip, what are you watching?
I'm watching Starfleet Academy on Paramount Plus, and I will watch it for the sake of the show, but I'm here to tell other people, do not watch this.
Wow. I saw the trailer and I was like, this looks interesting in terms of the stuff that they pull off visually and the tech and all that other stuff. But you're like, no, thank you.
No. So the funny thing is the reviews are good for this show. So I was like, I kind of had a little bit of hope and expectation coming in.
What's the review? Is it 90s?
Yeah, it's like 89, 90%.
Okay.
It's not Star Trek. And that's the issue. It's like,
when you say it's not Star Trek, what do you mean by it's not Star Trek?
There's no exploration. That's number one. Okay. So they get one thing right. They get one thing really right in this show, and I will talk about it because we've talked about it. The show is set in the 32nd century. Well done.
Okay.
So you went like 1,000 years in the future.
Okay.
Smart. That gets you away from a lot of constraints.
Yes.
But to me, and this falls under the like Alex Kurtzman has kind of been like the czar of Star Trek for the last however many years. Mm-hmm. I just don't think he gets the essence of Star Trek and what it can be. And in my opinion, what I think it should be. And I don't think I'm alone in this. First off, the visuals aren't bad, but there's a griminess to the way all of his Star Trek shows look that I'm just like, I don't think that's Star Trek. Like Gene Roddenberry was more of the like utopian vision of the future. And that's Star Trek. And that's why Next Gen looks the way it does in particular. And so I feel like the farther you get from that, you're already losing me a little bit.
Yeah.
But really, my issue is with the crew. It just feels like you're checking a lot of boxes for the wrong reasons with this crew. And I'm just out.
Okay.
Like, I think they think it's really cool that they have Holly Hunter as like the captain / chancellor. And that when they cut to her on the bridge of her ship, she's like curled up in the chair like a cat. And I'm like, no, that's not a Star Trek captain. And even like Janeway's commanding. Like that's the point of that character. To have her like lounging in the chair and just chilling, I don't know. That doesn't work for me in a Star Trek show.
Yeah.
And then the leads they have and why they choose those leads and why those leads look the way they do. it just feels like you're trying to service something else and you're not trying to tell the best possible story.
Okay.
The lead looks the part. Like I thought he was an interesting looking guy. I was like, wow, this guy's like really tall, really athletic, like really fit, has a unique look to him. I was like, I could see where this actor has a future in a lot of things. But as what he is playing here,
Doesn't work.
it doesn't work. And that's the thing. When I think about good Star Trek with bad Star Trek, it really starts with the key crew. Like if you nail the casting and the acting and the parts are thought of interesting, right? Spock, Data, Kirk, Picard, Sisko, even characters like Quark or Worf. Like when you construct those with good premises, that is already the foundation of good Star Trek.
Yeah.
When you give me a Klingon doctor who's not really Klingon in any way that he acts, as far as I can tell, you've missed it. Now what you've done is you've checked the box. Okay, I need a Klingon. And I want that Klingon to be played by a person of color. Check. But you didn't get the Klingon of it all.
Yeah.
And that's where I think it fails.
Mm-hmm.
So as a result, this feels very ill-fitting. And I remember when you watched the original episode of Next Generation, that crew is still feeling each other out. You can feel this awkward chemistry in that episode that then grows tremendously over 7 seasons. But the concept already is light years better than what this is. And like I said, the other thing is it's set in 32nd century, which I love, but because it's Starfleet Academy, everything's coming to them in this reconstituted San Francisco. And yes, they have a starship, but they haven't really, they don't, at least in the first 2 episodes, they haven't really gone anywhere.
Yeah.
And Star Trek to me is like, you want to be going, right? Deep Space Nine, the reason why the station worked is because it was in the it was in the beta quadrant. It was like all the way out in outer space. And they had this wormhole so you could kind of go elsewhere. So there was still that sense of exploration. Everything coming into the Academy feels unimaginative. And so like in the second episode, it's like, who comes into the Academy for the first big like alien interaction? It's the Betazoids. It's Troy's race, who just looks human and is telepathic. Not interesting. So will I continue watching because it's Star Trek and because we talk about it on the show? Yeah, I'll watch it, but disappointed. And I think the fact that Paramount is completely resetting this universe, as we said, they want totally new and totally different, and this is a remnant of the old thing. Good. I'm done with the old stuff.
Yeah.
Let's get away from it. And get Kurtzman out of there and get somebody else's view and vision in there.
Yeah. I watched, I believe it's called His and Hers with Tessa Thompson and John Bernthal.
Okay.
Did you see that?
I've not.
I enjoyed it. Although he falls in the class of these individuals or these performers that have their signature way about them that is difficult to not necessarily ignore. You're there to see the performance and what situation they're under and obviously how they handle it, but through the vehicle of the way they do things, similar to Denzel Washington and other actors who sort of perform the same way, but you're there to watch the performance because you like how they perform. Bernthal is similar in this role, although there's a little bit of an accent and a different situation, and you want to see how his character gets out or deals with the situation. But outside of that, I think the whodunit aspect of it all was certainly entertaining and kept you watching to find out what happens. Because there's a lot of clues, obviously, that are left there for you to sort of think on, and sort of hang on to see what happens next because of the powerful performance, I think, of each of these individuals, especially Tessa Thompson and John Bernthal. Right, there are others there and there are situations that happen there that I think are interesting and worth talking about at some point, amongst those who've seen this. But it was an interesting whodunit, and I think it's definitely an interesting watch. I'm interested in hearing the critiques of some people as to why they didn't watch it or why they didn't like it, or they didn't find it interesting. Because I found it interesting to watch based off of the performers that were in this film. I mean, in this show. So if I had to give it out of a 5, I say I'd give it a 2.5.
Okay.
To 3 in terms of who done it. I wouldn't go any higher than that.
Okay. All right. So here's hers. I'll put it on the list. We got a couple other shows we've started. We can talk about in future shows. But there you go. Couple picks and one pan on the Star Trek side.
Yeah. So let us know in the comment section below what you guys think of this episode of The Void and the topics we discussed. James Gunn, the latest on Paramount, George R. R. Martin going through it with HBO. First look at Sophie Turner, and some of the stuff we're watching. So thank you again for watching the show. Hit that like and subscribe, share it with your friends, and if you haven't heard it anywhere else, you heard it here first on the Nerd Gen Report. See you next time.